welcome to Barbatos Catholic Podcast, the show where two Mexican dads talk about faith, life, and culture. Walter and Gustavo with you, episode 93. My goodness, how time flies.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't have a specific title for this episode yet. I guess we're going to figure out after we finish recording it, and then we'll plop it in the description, and you will know already as it is. Right now, we don't know.
How about I check this out?
Mhm.
Leave it untitled, and people will be intrigued.
But
Or-
that's not good for SEO.
Or people
Gustavo.
will think we're dumb and we forgot to title it.
Well, that's I know. What is TBD? Anyways, so I was talking to Gustavo. This weekend was one of let's say of challenges. Well, first of all, today is the feast day of Saint Lucy, so
Mm-hmm.
happy feast day of Saint Lucy to all the Lucys. We here at Barbados we have two of them.
Yeah.
Gustavo and I have a Lucia in our families, and so yeah, have if you have a Lucia, there's like a beautiful tradition to bring coffee and baked goods.
And baked goods. Yeah. Ana Lucia was actually asking me if she could have the pastry you made that year.
Oh, I'm
Remember?
making cinnamon rolls this year,
Mhm.
but yeah, that's too late for that.
Yeah, it was like saffron something and light.
Yeah, lusicate. It's a
Mhm.
Norwegian pastry, but very tasty.
Mhm.
And yesterday was Our Lady of Guadalupe. Saludos a todas las Lupitas que nos están escuchando.
Mhm.
And yeah, it's been December like goes by
So fast.
Yeah. But even though it has gone so fast since Thursday of last week, today the episode's coming out is Tuesday. Let's just say that it all started on the solemnity of the Immaculate Conception of the Virgin Mary, and that day I already had gone to mass on Wednesday evening, so I was like, well, Diana needs to take the boys to the 8:30 mass, and I stay with the two younger ones. It should be fine. And I usually wake up at 5:30 with the kids, make my cup of coffee, have the kids get ready for the day and whatnot. But that day was different. I woke up at 5 a.m. like usual, except when I went to get my youngest one that's still in a different room in his crib, I got a stench that filled my nose and didn't go away very easily. And I was like, oh, this is not good. I don't know how long this has been there.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of those smells that you know that it's been a while, that it doesn't smell fresh.
Yep.
So
Rancio, así como.
yeah, like añejo, So I clean up this baby, and it's not enough. Wipes are not doing the job, so I get him in the bath and clean him up, and that wakes up Deanna, and we were like, well, it can't get worse than this. A kid with explosive diarrhea, that's the worst thing that will happen today, right?
Pretty much, yeah.
But little did we know, Deanna goes to mass with the kids, with the two older ones, comes back, and I started working. And that day, for whatever reason, I found out that there were like two things that I did wrong with a couple of projects that I was doing. So I was already feeling like stressed out because I needed to rework some of the things that I had done. And then it was like around 10:30, 11 in the morning, I hear a crash. And I'm like, oh my goodness. The kids were playing in the backyard,
Mm.
and one of them ran into the sliding door or something, because they usually like to run and bang on the door.
Yeah.
Turns out my oldest was very upset that he was not going to get to watch TV, that he threw a rock through the sliding glass door.
Oh my goodness! It went through, or is it just
It went
cracked it?
it went through. I found the rock, and thanks be to God, it was, I think, it tempered glass, that
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
that it becomes
Yeah. It just
very tiny
shatters.
pieces, so you could hear like the crackling of the glass, um, cracking into like breaking into very small pieces until it just like fell
Oh no! It actually
completely.
like completely fell off.
I mean, it was useless. Obviously, after I don't think I was gonna be able to like. Oh,
Structurally sound. Yeah.
yeah,
Oh.
exactly. So I immediately went into action mode.
Hmm.
I was like, I was livid, but at the same time, I was like, "Don't kill your kid. It's gonna be okay." Um, Deanna was like, "Oh my goodness, it's my fault." And I'm like, "No, no, 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 no. It's gonna be all right. We're gonna. It's one of those things that I don't know. Maybe as men, though, the male listeners of the podcast might agree with me. You may agree with me that when you see a problem, there's something that switches in your brain, and you're just like solution focused. Like,
Hmm. Oh yeah, for
how do
sure.
we fix this? So, first things first was getting all of the kids in one room so nobody would get cut
Hmm.
with glass, cleaning everything, calling an emergency glass replacement company, whatnot. I think within 2 hours we had a new glass door.
Oh, that's amazing. That's
It
awesome.
was, I mean, in some $100 later, but I
Yeah.
didn't want to have that as a vulnerability in my home, right?
Oh no, for sure. Yeah. Or
So
it could have
then,
been worse. It could have been a lot more costly and painful. If somebody
yeah.
was close to the door, somebody gets cut, somebody gets something in their eye. Now you're talking into the
Oh yes,
thousands of dollars and
it
maybe
is
like
that, and then
permanent
going to the
damage.
ER. Yes, so
Hmm.
that is very true. The
Hmm.
silver lining on that was
Totally.
um, that nobody got hurt. It's just my wallet.
Hmm.
But then I had this. I sit down with Oliver, and I'm like, "This is the worst thing that you have done in your life, like hands down." So I made him um, pick his own consequence,
Mm.
and he chose no bedtime stories and no treats for a week. And he has been trying to get out of it all the days after
Yeah.
that. And every time that he's like, "Oh, can I have a cookie?" And I'm like, "Nope, you're still grounded until Thursday." And he's like, "I regret making that decision." I'm like, "All right, all right, okay." So that part is good. And it's very difficult because as a parent, you want to give your kid everything,
Hmm.
but I also want to be like, "No, I'm gonna follow through with
Oh,
this
for
with this
sure.
punishment."
Yeah, they need
Um,
to see that consistency
yeah,
in your word. Otherwise, it just goes out the window and you'll never get it back.
yeah, you lose credibility, man.
Hmm. Hmm.
So that was Thursday, right? That's December 8th. 2 days later, uh, on Saturday, the first thing that I hear in the morning is Deanna telling me I feel sick. I'm like,
Mm.
oh my goodness. And you and I were talking about this, like when your spouse is out of commission, it's not that we can't. Well, for me, I'm just going to speak for myself. I know that physically I can take care of the kids and feed them and clean them and entertain them, um, play with them and whatnot. Mentally, because I am not doing that day in day out like my
Hmm.
wife is.
Hmm.
it is very challenging. Um, I journaled a lot in the 48 hours that Deanna was out of commission. Um, and it was it was a challenging time to like a good time to like stretch, you know. Uh, and this is a side note, like Deanna and I really get annoyed when people make comments about, oh, your husband is babysitting the kids. um, Please, can we eliminate that from our vocabulary? Dads don't babysit their kids, they
Yep.
take care of their
Hmm.
kids. We are the other parent.
Yeah.
um, so anyways, I just wanted to rant about that.
Yeah. Well, are you getting paid? No, right? When you take care of your own kids. So yeah,
I
technically it's not babysitting.
I know. There's a comedian
Yeah.
that was like, I don't like, my wife doesn't like when they say that I babysit the kids, and she also didn't like that I charge $14 an hour. Um, so I thought that was very funny.
Yeah.
Um, so in the midst of all of that, like I'm trying to do like a load of laundry, and it was just like, because my kids are like hobbits, right? They have a first breakfast at 6 a.m. in the morning, and then a second breakfast at like
Hmm.
9, and then they have 11 C's,
Yeah.
and they eat all day long. So it's just like a string of
Yeah.
meal after
Constant
meal,
eating. The
putting dishes in the
snacks.
dishwasher,
The snacks are never ending.
never ending.
Never
Yeah,
ending.
y se te junta todos los trastes.
Yeah.
If you are not like on top of it, you get like a
Hmm.
mountain of dishes. And it made me appreciate my wife way
Hmm.
more, to be
Yeah, for
honest.
sure.
Tiana, if you're listening to this, thank you so much for everything that you do. And husbands, appreciate your wives. They do a lot.
Hmm.
Um, and once you walk a mile in their shoes, then you figure out that it's a thankless job.
Hmm.
So appreciation for all the moms that are
Yeah.
listening as well.
Yeah, for
Um,
sure.
Kids are not. What's the Lewis quote that says, "Kids are the most important work"?
Hmm.
So I'm butchering the quote, but to that point. Okay, so in the midst of all that chaos, trying to like cook meals and pick up toys and whatnot.
And work, right? Because you're working at the same time.
No, this was the weekend. Thank
Oh, the
God.
weekend. Okay,
Yeah, it
got it.
was a Saturday.
Mm.
Um, I get a direct message from who I thought was John Subland, the Man on Fire, and I thought that it was weird that he was asking me for a favor, and apparently, well, I thought that he was asking me for a vote for a sponsorship, which at that point in time, in retrospect, sounded super fishy. But again, I was distracted and probably
Hmm.
tired. Long story short, the Barbatu's Catholic Podcast Instagram account got hacked because someone impersonated John, and I was dumb enough to give them the information that they asked. Also, it activate your two-factor authentication in your account. If you have not, like, pause the podcast, go do that, and then come back and listen to the rest of the story. But we reported it to Instagram, and they basically said that if the person that took over the account doesn't break the community guidelines, there's nothing they can do. So we don't know what we are going to do next. Gustavo and I are probably going to go get a beer and talk it out. But in the meantime, um, I guess you can subscribe to our direct.me/Barbatus page, where we can probably leverage that as a community. Or if you're watching on YouTube, you can subscribe. And we have been experimenting with the posts, because there's a community tab in the channel that you can get notifications when we post there as alternatives for now. So if you receive direct messages from the Barbados Catholic Podcast Instagram account, it is not Gustavo and it's not I. So
Maybe
Please,
it was
please, please.
Ivan. Did Ivan take it over? Is it you?
But you know what is the scariest part is that I was texting John because I have his phone number, and I'm
Mm,
like, "Hey, John, am I talking to you on Instagram right now?" Which it sounds like a dumb question to ask someone, right? Like, "Am I talking to you?" Um,
mhm.
and that's when he was like, "Sorry, brother, like my account got hacked a week ago, and I haven't been able to get it back." And as he said that, I got a notification that's like suspicious login from Ghana. And by the time that I was trying to change my password, they had already put their information and their password, and we were locked out. So
First our
it
website, now our Instagram
I
account. You know,
know
the
it's
devil's attacking us on all fronts, man.
I yes, it would seem like that. Like I mean, we must be doing something right. With we were getting to like 750 followers, so
Hmm.
maybe that's why the evil one doesn't like that. But if we're just gonna keep on going with the podcast, if we cannot promote it as much in social media, we would ask you who are listening or watching to like, subscribe, feed the YouTube algorithm so we pop up in more people's feeds, and see if we can um, you know keep the message going. We're gonna keep on doing it no matter if we have a social media account or not.
Hmm.
So it's and then to top it all off, I'm an old man, Gustavo. I think I'm not 40 yet, but like you know, today was a super rainy day in Phoenix, and my knee started to hurt. So I'm really worried. I have a physio appointment on Friday, so keep keep tuned for more news about an old man and his knee. The podcast. Um,
Maybe you should make it into like a storytelling podcast.
I know,
He
seriously.
woke up on a rainy morning,
The
a
smell of
slight
wet
pain.
the smell of wet soil was in the air. Um, that is funny because I have actually thought about describing those kind of things. Anyways, it's an exercise in writing.
Hmm.
However, what's the point of telling you, the listener, all of these things that have happened? We have a point, we promise. And thank you for listening so far. Um, I told you that I was like journaling a lot during these days because I think it helped me deal with, first of all, what I was thinking, and then
Mm.
um, trying to take it to the Lord. Just sometimes when I write things down, at least for me, it helps me think better because it's not in my head; it's on paper. And like my conclusion, one of them, I have like 5 points. First of all, I'm soft. I am very soft. And then that's probably an opportunity to like recognize that and work on it.
Mm.
Um, I got this realization that I need to willingly engage in small acts of violence against myself in order to build that resiliency. And I thought about like fasting and cold showers, like Exodus 90,
Mm.
because the two times that we've done Exodus 90 during that period of time, I feel like I was way more um, patient and willing to accept those little crosses
Mm.
throughout the day. Now it's like it's not as bothersome because you are in a different headspace, because you already did a small act of violence against yourself. Then when someone else that is doing it to you, you're like,
Hmm.
well, I eat cold showers for breakfast, and black coffee. Um, so yes, that was like the first thing that I realized.
I'm just happy you said like fasting and cold showers. I thought you were gonna get self-flagellation on me all of a sudden.
I
Small acts
mean,
of violence. I'm like, where's this going?
no, 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 no. I know, and yeah, it's gonna sound extreme, right?
Mm,
Um, but um, I have been watching a lot of daily Stoic videos,
mm,
Brian Holiday, and even though he talks about philosophers from uh, the Stoic school of thought, that's one of the closest thing to Christianity without being Christianity. So there's a lot of virtue and like recognizing how little control you have
mm-hmm.
over what you have control and letting go of what recognizing what you don't have control over, which is
Yeah.
another one of the things that I realized, and that was a good exercise.
Mm-hmm.
To um, Brian Holiday has a book uh, on Marcus Aurelius. The obstacle is the way, and I was thinking about that phrase, and through journaling and prayer, I turned it into the cross is the way.
Mm-hmm.
Pick up your cross and follow me. Um, in you know somehow, and I'm gonna sound repetitive here because I've said it in the podcast before. All of this is part of our salvation plan. All of these things that God allows to happen to us. So we cannot control a lot of things. We cannot control how our children act most times, Um, we can only control. Well, I would hope that we could control things that are our emotions and our reactions and things like that. Um, that would be under our control, being self-disciplined and all of these other things that the small acts of violence against oneself could help in terms of like discipline and uh, self-control.
Mm-hmm.
um, but the cross being the way, because Jesus Christ is the model uh, for us. He's the truth, the way, and se me está olvidando una,
The light,
the light.
truth, the
Um,
light, and the way.
and yeah, I think that was part of like, okay, we need to carry the cross joyfully. The joyfully part is a little bit. I'm working on it.
Mm-hmm.
Let's just say that. Um,
That's tricky, and
mm,
I think
yeah,
we're in the third week of Advent, and like you said, it's gone by so quick.
yeah,
There's so many different activities, especially if you're Catholic, right? If you live solely by the way of the world, you got all the Christmas activity that goes with it. Your Christmas lights, your Christmas parade, kids in schools and their activities. If you have more than one kid, then that means you're going to however many school plays or Christmas pageants, right?
yeah.
So December in itself, it's already busy. Throw on top of it all the Catholic celebrations, the fact that we observe holy days of obligation, like the Immaculate Conception that was last week. It's definitely you receive graces, from going to mass and participating in the Holy Eucharist, but it's tricky sometimes, especially when you have little ones.
Yeah.
So what we had to do is to be able to get everybody on their way and ready for school and whatnot. We had to go to 6:30 mass because we weren't able to go the day before, or we're not going to be able to go in the afternoon that day. Everybody's day was packed with activities.
Six
So
thirty a.m.
6:30 a.m. So getting 5 kids up and out of the house by 6 o'clock in the morning, it's not always the most conducive for a peaceful drive, right?
Yep.
But you do it, you get there, and you go through what the Lord gives you in that moment. Now, thankfully, the little one was a little tuckered out because we woke him up at 5:30. So he slept for 3.5 hours, a nap
Nice.
after that. So it was like, that's another little
Silver lining.
blessing. Silver lining, right? Another little blessing. The other two went to school, and our two other daughters were they're homeschool at the moment, and so it was less of a hectic day than I thought it was gonna be.
Mhm.
But we've had instances all through the month, like you know, it's like been hurry up and get here and get there. And my mom had struggled with some issue. She was in the hospital, and that came out of nowhere. Like, visits to the hospital usually come.
Yeah.
So I understand what you're saying. You know, sometimes it tends to get overwhelming, not just as a parent, but just life. Life gets in the way. We say that all the time.
Yeah.
And it's in those moments when I think it really puts your faith into, I don't want to say test, but not in the way that it sounds like you don't believe, but to see how you can apply your faith to face those obstacles. Because it's really easy to get angry right now, when something doesn't go our way. It's really easy to
Yeah.
get frustrated, you know. It's really easy to just like, um lash out at your spouse or at your kids because something happened, something broke, somebody spilled the milk. You know, that happens literally on a daily basis at this house. And I can, so I think it's like, it's opportunities, right? When we pray, we tell God, give me patience, make me a more joyful person. And those are little opportunities, little gifts that God gives us, and it's really hard to see them that way in that moment.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, you just want to be like, and scream. It's like that Instagram reel that I sent you about the dad,
Yeah. This
the
is a
song
song
about.
about parenthood.
I laugh so much at that because it's so true. The guy literally just like starts playing some
Screams.
right really soft notes, as if he's gonna play like a nice
A
soft ballad,
ballad or something.
and he
Yeah.
just starts screaming at the top of his lungs. It's the funniest thing. You can see the pain in his face because that's what parenthood is, and it is. You know, it is painful. It has to be uh, sacrificial love, like we've talked about several times on the podcast, and coming back to
Emptying ourselves.
emptying oneself, you know, for the good of another. And it's easier said than done. You know, I'm far the best example of that. I'm a work in progress every day. Um, and I think God is polishing a lot because He sends me a lot of tests.
So it's a lot of pruning for sure.
So, but it's what you do with those moments, and how you receive. If you take it as a gift, I think if you wake up with that mentality, everything good or bad comes our way. It is a gift. It is something that is going to help us grow as a person, as a father, as a husband, um, as a friend. You know, as a Catholic.
Yeah.
All those little instances, if we take him like that, we would be considering ourselves very blessed, instead of like, man, that was the suckiest day. You know, because that's usually what I do, is like, oh man, I hope tomorrow's better, without knowing that is like, God gave me everything I had in that moment to deal with those circumstances, and sometimes I choose not to, and that's what I have to work with. I have to work at, you know. But same as you know, it's been more daddy duty around the house lately, and working from home and trying to get food for kids while staying productive. You know, thankfully it's been kind of like a low season
Yeah. It's the
work
end of the year.
wise,
So,
but it's still challenging to do the Mr. Mom thing, and do it as good as my wife does it. You know, I'm
well, that's the
definitely no
thing. We're going
match.
to do it differently. We're going to
Yeah.
do it in a masculine way,
Mm-hmm.
whether our wives are going to do it in a feminine way.
Yeah.
So it's not going to be the same.
Yeah.
It can't be the same. Um, anyways, so that was pretty much what we had to tell you. It was half ranting, half um, trying to give you some encouragement to say, there's going to be difficult days, but it's not about surviving, it's about thriving.
Hmm.
And if we hold on, grip tightly to the Lord, and pick up our cross and follow Him, um, we're gonna be fine. It's gonna be all right.
Hmm.
And it can always be worse. Think about that.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you for listening to this episode. If you got something out of this, we would appreciate if you like or comment or share it with a friend or your family. And if you haven't subscribed to our YouTube channel, please do so. And rates and reviews are also greatly appreciated. Go to direct.me/Barbatus. We have a free ebook on Las Posadas, which start on the 16th, by the way. So you can download it and get ready to celebrate with your friends and family. And more Advent episodes. We have a playlist available there if you thought that this was not very Adventy and you want to listen to something that will help you with that. It's over there.
We should have had some Christmas lights or something in the background just to
Yeah,
offset it a little bit.
I know. I feel like this needed to come out while it was fresh.
Mhm.
You know,
No,
'cause
totally.
but yeah, and I guess we'll see you next week. We're getting close to celebrate Christmas. Let's just do this home stretch and close strong, finish strong. Blessed Silence Casey.
Pray for us.
Pray for us. Until the next time.